Hey, welcome back to Year the Wager. I am Two Commas. Thanks for tuning in. In today's episode, we are going to be showcasing a 2040 mixed game I played at the WSOP over the summer. But before we dive into that, I have a couple of big announcements I want to make. The first is that I'm going to be traveling to Las Vegas November 16th through the 20th for the Mixed Game Festival. I've been hearing a lot about this festival over the years, and this is going to be the first time that I'm able to attend and support the mixed game community. So hopefully I will see you there and we can play a little mixed games together. To find out more about the festival, you can visit the link that's in the description below. Now on to the second announcement. I am going to be hosting my very first ever meetup game at Resorts World in Las Vegas on December 6th. I'm super excited to host this mixed game meetup, and I'm looking forward to playing with a lot of the channel viewers and having a lot of fun and just getting some mixed game poker in. So consider this to be your official invitation to join me in Las Vegas at Resorts World on December the 6th. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have low stakes for beginners just learning mixed games. We'll have some medium stakes for the people who are more comfortable, and we might even have some high stakes pro games going on. So I'll be giving away some prizes for some Year of the Wager channel subscribers. And I'm really looking forward to meeting everyone. So please join me if you can. All right, with that being said, let's dive into the action. We are back in action at the WSOP. I'm getting ready to hop into the 2040 mixed game. I don't often get to play mixed games when I'm back home in Atlanta, so I have to log some serious hours while I'm in Las Vegas to get as much playing time as possible. It's always best to start a new table if possible when playing in the mix, because you get to choose a portion of the games that will be played. I prefer triple draw and stud games as opposed to flop games, and I also prefer single winner games instead of split pot games. The mix that we're going to be playing today is decent because it has a good variety of draw and stud. On my first notable hand, we are playing Archie, which is a 5-card triple draw game with a double qualifier. The pot is split between the best high hand and the best low hand. You need to have at least an 8 low for the bottom half of the pot and better than a pair of 9s for the high. I start off with 3-4-5, which is 3 to the wheel and a great starting hand in Archie. I call the $40 raise and draw 2. There are 3 players in the pot, and I pull that ace and the 8, which automatically gives me the low, but I know, and you know, and they know that an 8 low is a no-go. So we're not going to be winning any pots with that. So I decide to draw again, since I have the draw to the nuts for the low and a straight for the high. I'm going to be drawing 1, and I lead out for $20 and get 2 callers. The poker gods don't waste any time blessing me with the deuce to make the wheel. Amazing
Like that body.
I lead out for $40 and immediately get raised to $80. We lose the third player, and of course I'm gonna re-raise, and I just get called, and we both stay pat for the third draw. I can only hope that he doesn't have a straight beat for the high. I lead out for $40 and get called, and much to my chagrin, my opponent has a straight to the 10, so we don't make as much money as we hoped. On the second hand, we are sticking with Archie, and I start off with ace 2, 5, 6, queen with the 3 clubs. I'm on the button, and I finish off the action of raises with a 4-bet, which indicates some very strong hands present at the table. We've got 4 players, and right off the bat, I need to make a decision. I've got 4 to the 6 high hand, which would likely win the low half of the pot, but the object of split pot games is to scoop by winning both the high and the low, and in other words, be greedy.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
So with that in mind, I decide to increase my chances of hitting a straight or a flush by tossing the ace and keeping the 3 suited connectors. You don't often toss an ace in Archie, but I think it's the right play. All of my opponents draw 1. My first draw is fruitless, and miraculously in a 4-bet pre-draw pot, it checks around to me, so I'll take it. The second draw brings me right back to where I started with 3 stacks of high society. Wait, that's the wrong movie. I make a 6 high hand with the ace and 4 of diamonds. I'm feeling froggy, so I raise the bet to $80 and 3 opponents call. I stay pat while everyone else draws 1 again on the third draw. It's checked to me and I bet $40 and everyone calls. Wow. As expected, I do have the best low hand and one of my opponents made a full house for the high. We split the 2 other players' chips. One more time for the cheap seats, we're going to be playing Archie. I start with ace, deuce 6, queen 10, and there are 3 players in for $40 and I'm drawing 2. King Jack on the first draw is not going to get it done, but my opponents once again give me a lifeline by checking to me. The second draw is much kinder, giving me an ace and pairing my 6. It checks to me and I decide to thin the field with a bet of $40, needing to improve with 1 draw left. I pull the king of clubs, which means I don't qualify for either the high or the low, but my opponent also drew a card and checked to me. Position is key and I can't win this hand by checking, so I bet $40 and my opponent must have missed their draw too and they fold. We're sticking with Archie for the 4th hand and I'm dealt ace, 2-2, 4 queen. I've got 3 to the wheel and I also have someone else's wheel card with the second deuce. All of these factors add up to me calling the raise and declaring my intention to win the pot. We've got 4 players and I'm drawing 2. Somehow I pull a jack and another 4. It's still the first round of betting and I call the $20 bet. On the second draw, I toss 2 cards and end up making a very rough low with 8, 7, 4 deuce ace. I check the action and call the bet of $40 and we lose 1 player. Here's another decision point in Archie. An 8-7 is usually not going to be good enough to win the low. However, since I've seen a lot of wheel cards and my opponents are likely still drawing, I decide to stay pat. I check the river and my opponent bets. I call in case he was betting a high hand, but unfortunately, he made a 6 low and I lose the entire pot. Which reminds me of the immortal words of Ricky Bobby.
If you ain't first, you're last.
On the next hand, I got moved to the main game, and guess what? They were also playing Archie. I've got 4 clubs, 3 draws, and a dream. I called the 3-bet with 3 players in the pot and draw 1. And what do you know? It only took 1 draw to make my king high flush.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Not at all.
I lead out for $20 and keep both players in the pot. I of course stay pat, and on the second draw it's checked to me. I bet $40 and we lose 1 player. I stay pat again and bet $40 on the river. I get called and show them the bad news.
You know something? No soup for you.
The next hand is an example of how the big blind can get you in trouble and what not to do in Archie. I start off with 5, 10, 10, 9, 8, and let me be the first to say that this is an unequivocal fold. There is no reason for me to be in this hand other than the big blind discount, and frankly, that's not enough. You should never be playing Archie with a pair smaller than a pair of kings, and I had no other real hand possibilities to draw to. What makes it even worse is we were heads up. Nevertheless, I call the raise and draw 3 out of position with a pair of 10s. Sounds crazy just saying it out loud. The first draw doesn't improve me that much, and I compound my mistake by calling another bet. On the second draw, I decide to keep the ace and the king with the hopes of making 2 pair, but in reality, I should have just folded. But if I was going to draw, I should have drawn 3 to try and hit another 10. I think my thought process was reducing my draw to 1 made it look like I improved a lot and I could bluff if I missed on the river. I now have 10-10, ace, king, queen. On the 3rd draw, I stay pat to carry out my impersonation of Megamind's diabolical plan and lead out for a bet of $40. However, my opponent calls, which was not part of the plan, and fortunately they made a low and my 10s held up simply to earn my money back. Terrible play by me.
Oh, you're a villain, all right. Just not a super one.
Yeah? What's the difference?
Presentation!
On the next hand, we're playing Archie once again, and I'm dealt 2, 3, 5, 8, 9. I call the $40 with 2 opponents to my left. After the first draw, I have 2, 3, 5, 10 jack, and I check. Thankfully, my opponents both check as well and allow me to draw 2 again for free. On the second draw, I make 7, 6, 5, 3 deuce, and I check, call my opponent, and we lose 1 player. I stay pat, and my opponent, probably not expecting a check call, then a stay pat, decides to draw 1. I check the river and end up scooping the pot. And yet again, we are playing another hand of Archie. I'm dealt ace 2, 6, 9 queen, and I call $40. In position, I have 1 opponent. I draw 2 on the first draw and pull a 3 and another queen. I bet $20 and draw 1. On the second draw, I make 6, 5, 3 deuce ace, and I raise to $80. Then I get re-raised. Awkward. I make the call and decide to stay pat because my opponent didn't seem like he was drawing to a low. I guess it's just intuition. I stay pat and we both check the river. Luckily for me, my opponent was going for the high and made trip 3s. I pull back my chips and we make little to no profit. And finally, we switch it up and change the game to Dramaha. For a minute, I thought this was just going to be an Archie table, but for the new players out there, here's a refresher on Dramaha. It's a split pot game with half the pot going to the best Omaha hand on the board and the other half going to the best 5-card draw hand, which you are holding. I'm playing heads up against the button and I'm dealt ace 10, 8, 7, 5 with 3 clubs. This should honestly be a fold off the bat because I'm out of position, but the big blind is my kryptonite and I make the discounted call to $40 because I had a suited ace. Luckily for me, the flop comes 7-4-7 rainbow, giving me a set of 7s. I bet $20 and take the maximum of 3 cards, keeping only the ace and the 7. The turn is the 9 of diamonds and my draw does nothing to improve my hand. I've got ace high for the 5-card draw hand. I lead out for $40 because I enjoy lighting money on fire and because I've got trip 7s. However, I get raised.
Houston, we have a problem.
I make the call knowing I'm losing my 5-card draw hand, but thinking I'm taking down the Omaha hand. This is clearly card drunk thinking. I should not have led out on this board with the hopes of only winning half the pot, and I definitely shouldn't be calling a raise with only the hopes of winning half the pot. A 5 of hearts comes on the river and I check call the $40, only to find out that my opponent had the entire world in his hands because he had a spade flush in his hand and a full house on the board, and that hurts. Ouch. We need to go back to playing Archie. We don't go back to Archie, but we do switch the game up to Super Stud 8. This game plays exactly the same as 7-card Stud 8 or better, except you are dealt 4 cards down and you have to toss 2 of them before 4th Street is dealt. The extra 2 cards means you need to tighten up your range because players will be starting out with much stronger hands than your normal 7-card Stud game. I'm dealt queen 9 4 deuce with 3 spades down and an 8 of spades up. In general, you don't want to have one of your flush outs be one of the cards you're going to be throwing away, but I decide to challenge myself to make a flush the hard way. I call the raise and we head to 4th Street with $155 in the pot and 2 opponents. I make a king on 4th Street and call the bet of the player to my right who pairs his 5 door card, and surprisingly the pair of 5s folded to a bet from my other opponent, and I decide to make the call and we proceed to 5th Street. I get the 10 of hearts on 5th Street, which does absolutely nothing for my hand, but my opponent appeared to be going low and got a paint card on 5th Street. Since the bet has doubled, I should be folding my garbage hand, but no spades have been exposed yet, and I stubbornly call one more bet to see what unfolds. On 6th Street, I make a pair of 9s and we both check. On the river, the dealer gives me a hapless 3 and I'm forced to check again with a terrible hand, but my opponent also checks because he missed his draw and my powerful pair of 9s takes it down. Now my next Super Stud 8 hand is more of a proper starting hand. I'm dealt 2, 3, 5, 7 down and the 3 of spades up. I toss the 3 and the 7, leaving me with 3 to the wheel and 2 spades. Great start. I'm in for $20 and find myself heads up again. On 4th Street, I catch a king of diamonds, which does me absolutely no good. I call the $20 bet. 5th Street pairs my kings and I check because my opponent is showing an ace. On 6th Street, I catch a 4, which makes me open-ended to the straight, and I lead out for a bet of $40. Unfortunately, I make a 10 on the river, which prevents me from having a low, and I must check, but my kings are good enough to take it down. That's how you backdoor into a winner. We switch the game up to Ultimate Big O. This is definitely not one of my favorite games. For the uninitiated, you are dealt 5 cards and 2 boards will be dealt by the dealer. You are playing Omaha for the best low and best high hand between both the boards. When you don't play Omaha a lot, it's sometimes hard to easily see what is the best possible hand between both boards, and I often struggle to read it quickly. I'm dealt ace 2, 5-8 jack with a suited ace and a draw to the nut low with ace deuce. I call $40 and there are 2 other players in the hand, and we are off to a double flop, which comes 2, 6, 7 rainbow on one board and 5 ace 10 with 2 clubs on the other board. Immediately this flop is interesting, as all double board Omaha flops are. I've got the nut flush draw on the bottom board with aces up and an open-ended straight draw on the top board and an ace 5 low draw. In other words,
so you're telling me there's a chance? Yeah!
I lead out for a bet of $40 after it was checked to me, and we lose 1 player. The turn is a 9 and a 7. I lead out for $40. The river is a king and an ace. I lead out for another $40. I'm called and I turn over aces full for the best possible high hand on both boards, and miraculously my ace 5 held up for the best possible low hand on both boards as well. My opponent had 8, 5, 4, 6, 10. Her low was slightly worse than mine. What game shall we play next? You know what it is. I missed it. You missed it. We all missed it. It's Archie. I'm dealt 3, 8, 7, 10 king with 3 hearts. I decided to play for the straight flush and I'm in for $20, drawing 2 with 2 other players. On my first draw, I catch the 6 of hearts and the jack of clubs. I call the $20 bet and draw 1. I start to think maybe, just maybe, I'm going to hit the straight flush on my next draw with the miracle 9 of hearts. If you believe in magic and want me to hit the straight flush, do me a favor and hit that like and subscribe button on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, so close. I get the 9, but it's the wrong suit, which means half of you didn't hit the like or subscribe button. We're going to have a conversation about that. I lead out for $40 and we lose a player, but we keep 1 on the hook. I stay pat and he draws 1. He checks and I bet, and he calls because he made a garbage low, but still gets half the pot. Foiled again. We are still playing Archie, and I start off with 4 clubs and a chance at immortality. I raise the $40 and go heads up to the first draw, tossing 1. It doesn't matter if I airball the first draw.
Kings 1 and 2, and then both click.
Shooters gotta shoot and bettors gotta bet. I fire out a $20 bet. I know I've got a third chance to make my hand, and that means I need to fire another bet.
It's right now. You're absolutely right. Oh.
Of $40, but I get called. We both drew 1 and I was checked 2, so
Is 43% at the line.
the only way I'm gonna win this hand is to bet. So I fire off one last Hail Mary of $40, and just as I planned all along, my opponent folds. On the last notable hand of the session, we switch to the game of Super Razz Deucey. Once again, you are dealt 4 cards down and you have to toss 2 cards before 4th Street. The best deuce to 7 hand wins half the pot, and the best Badoogie hand wins the other half of the pot. I'm dealt 3, 4, 5, 10 with an 8 of diamonds up. I complete the bet, raising the $20, and I've got 2 callers. When you already have a Badoogie and you have to toss a card, you're hoping that you guess right. But you also have to look around at the exposed door cards and make sure you toss the suit that isn't showing in your opponent's door cards. I choose to toss the spade. On 4th Street, I catch the 6 of clubs. I guess I should have chosen a different suit. Nevertheless, it was a good card for my deuce to 7 hand, so I call $20. On 5th Street, I catch the king of spades, which makes my Badoogie, but it's terrible for my deuce to 7 hand. My opponents are showing a pair and an ace, and they bet and raised before it got to me, so my hand isn't great, but my board is still ahead of theirs, so I call the $80. I catch the queen of hearts on 6th Street, another terrible card, and yet my board is still ahead of my opponents. One of them has 2 pairs showing. They check to me and I lead out for $40 and they both call. I'm gonna need help on 7th Street, but the 6 of diamonds pairs me up and leaves me with a queen 8, 6, 4, 3 for my deuce to 7 hand and a king high Badoogie. That means I get
nothing. You got nothing in court. You don't got the bookkeeper. You got nothing. Nothing. And if
I hate racking up on a losing hand, but at least it wasn't a losing session. All in all, I won $370. Or for you want to be financiers out there, I got a 37% return on my investment. If we annualize that out over the course of a year, it would be
$1 million.
All right, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Remember to please join me in Las Vegas on December 6th for the mixed game meetup at Resorts World. It's going to be a lot of fun and I can't wait to meet you all. Remember to like and subscribe to this video. We need to hit 1,000 subscribers so we can become official. And I will see you in the next video, which we're going to be doing some instructional videos on additional mixed games. All right, take care.